Ulrich, I am not Alistair's son. It sounded like a broken record in my head, and I didn't know how to feel about that. I'm happy that Grace is not my sister, but on the other hand, I felt as if my whole life had been a lie. I am no longer Ulrich Black. He's not my son, said Alistair in a whisper. I couldn't look at him in the eyes. I was afraid that I was going to see rejection in them. Aurora, what have you done? He asked Mom. Why did it have to come to this? If he is not my son, then who is his father? I knew something was off, but I was too heartbroken to even recognize it. You were already pregnant when you became Luna. Said Mom. She was in tears and didn't know whether to comfort me or explain to her husband first. Being here in this room felt as if I was inside a movie, watching all the characters move and talk. You didn't lie to Dawn when you told her you were pregnant, said Alistair. I can X. You were scared about the alliance, you said. Alistair shook his head. You didn't do it for the alliance, you did it to save yourself, Aurora. Mom tried to hold her husband, but he stepped back and avoided her like she had a contagious disease. I can't blame him. My mother lied about my paternity and ruined his life to save hers. Not only that, Grace grew up without a father because of her. I had to do it. Duke is gone, said Mom, sobbing in her hands. Duke Preston from Silvercrest, asked Alistair. Is he my real father? I asked Mom, but I couldn't get an answer from her. Answer me. I used my alpha voice to command her, and she nodded. Yes, Duke Preston is your real father. He was my fated mate, and my father knew that. Mom wiped her tears. But Dad thinks his pack is too small for an alliance. He wanted High Crown, and I have to honor his wishes. Alistair, I was ready to tell you that we were not going to go through the arrangement when I found out I was pregnant, but Duke's pack was slaughtered, and my dreams were instantly shattered. Yours were shattered, so you did it to mine. That's what you're good at. If not for Emlyn, I wouldn't know that I had Grace. Aurora, I raised your son without knowing he is not mine from the beginning. You could have told me all this sooner, but you chose not to. What would have happened if Ulrich didn't meet Grace? I'm going to continue living in this world without knowing I had a daughter. She spent the last 5 years of her life alone when her mother died. I could have been there. I should have been there to bury the love of my life. But you took me away from them. How could you? Alistair stormed out of the study and didn't bother closing the door. Mom dropped to her knees on the ground and cried. Her sobs were killing me, as I don't like hearing or seeing women cry. But I couldn't go near her. I was too hurt and disappointed in the woman that I put on a pedestal for so long. Mom was the perfect mother, perfect wife. A perfect Luna. Who knew she was hiding dark secrets like that? It's enough to cripple me and break our family. Queen Emlyn. I should feel bad for Aurora, but she knew it was coming. I warned her, but she didn't listen. When Alistair left the room, Grace took Ulrich to their bedroom so they could have some privacy. How dare you, Emlyn? Why couldn't you just keep it to yourself? It's not your secret to tell. Aurora shouted at me. She was so angry that her veins were visible on her neck. You should have taken my words seriously. You thought that was an empty threat. You played with their lives, Aurora. When are you going to realize your mistakes and think about other people for a change? Your father has been long gone, and yet you're living your life like he was still here to dictate you. You ruined my family. I didn't. You already did a great job doing it by yourself. Look around you. Alistair is not here, so is your son. Do you think your daughter will be happy with you when she finds out about your lies? What do you get out of this, Emlyn? Do you take pride in revealing secrets that are not yours to tell? Does it make you happy that you are ruining families, huh? You are not playing fair. She got up from kneeling on the floor and walked towards me. Newsflash, Aurora. The world doesn't revolve around you. Did you expect that no one would know about what you did? If I knew sooner where Dawn was, do you think I would let you steal Alistair from her? You didn't want to raise your child alone, but you did it to her. You lived your life in this fancy house, while she lived in a dump. You didn't have to work a day in your life, because you had Omegas to do everything for you, but Dawn had to work multiple jobs to feed her daughter. And you want to talk about playing fair? I shook my head. I didn't tell Alistair about his daughter. Because of you I did it, because he doesn't have much time. Aurora looked at me like I was overly dramatic. Well, she has another thing coming. You're going to be so happy to know that Grace is destined to die tonight, but you're so selfish that you don't even want her to know who her real father is. All you think about it yourself. Guess what? Once you're banished from this pack, all you will have to think about is yourself. You should be a pro at that by now. If I were you, instead of putting the blame on me, I would prepare for what's coming. It's not going to be pretty. Aurora read. Grace. Ulrich has been quiet since we came into our bedroom. I didn't know what to say to him, so I just sat beside him and held his hand. It must be devastating hearing so many lies in one day. I asked Taryn to leave the room and leave Kane to me. He is sleeping in his crib anyway and has just been fed. I even passed out when I heard Aunt Emlyn say Alistair is my father. As shocking as it is, I wasn't worried about myself or Ulrich. I feared for my son's life. Reading that book, The Wolf in Me, taught me so many things about the way of life for wolves. And not just their practices, but their rules and beliefs. I didn't agree with most of them, but they were created long before I was born. I swear, I could add so many things to it that far makes more sense. Grace, said Ulrich. I'm no one. A tear fell from his eye. I would understand if you don't want to be with me anymore. Not be with him anymore. What the hell is he talking about now? Does he really think I care if he's alpha or not? First of all, you are not no one, I said to him as I wiped his tears away. Alpha or not, I choose you to be my husband and the father of my babies. I kissed his lips quickly and smiled to lighten up his mood. Babies. Ulrich smiled a little when he said that. Yes, babies. You are going to give me lots of babies, and I don't really care if we live here or in a small cottage somewhere if you lose your title. I said that to him as a joke, but it is true. Your wife is a witch, and guess what? I've been practicing how to conjure things. Ulrich tried to give me a smile, but there was sadness in his eyes. If I lose my title, you do realize you're the real alpha of High Crown, right? I honestly didn't think about titles when I was told Alistair is my birth father. But Ulrich is right. I am the true alpha of this pack. But I have a choice not to take it. So what's going to happen after that? I have no idea. I don't know much about being an alpha, and seriously my plate is already full with Kane. I don't want to be alpha, I just want to be our son's mother and a wife to you. Ulrich looked surprised to hear me say that, and with furrowed brows, he said, You're happy being Luna? You mean the unwanted Luna? I burst out laughing. I glanced at the time and realized that I had a few hours left. Naya said I am going to die tonight. Do I really want to spend what's left of my life in gloom and misery? Nope. The unwanted Luna. How did you come up with that? Asked Ulrich. He picked me up and sat me on his lap. I rested my face on his shoulders and inhaled his scent. I want to remember this when I close my eyes for the last time. Well, you did leave me that morning because you thought I couldn't be Luna. He was going to apologize, so I cut him off. Please don't say sorry for something you already apologized for. I want us to move forward with our lives and live like it's our last. Can we do that? I said to him. I wanted to add that it is my last, but no words would come out. What did I do to deserve someone like you? Asked Ulrich. His hand caressed my cheek. I shrugged my shoulders. Only the moon goddess knows. I will ask her when I finally get to meet her. No one has seen Artemis. She's almost as close to being a myth, said Ulrich. I cleared my throat. Maybe, but if and when I see Artemis, I would ask her why all these had to happen. It's crazy how fate played in our lives. I take that back. Maybe Artemis is not a myth after all. She knows what she's doing when she paired me with you. I mean, look at me, all handsome and ouch. I pinched his arm. All handsome. At least Ulrich is slowly picking up the pieces and not dwelling on misery. Am I not? Isn't that why you couldn't say no to me that night at the coffee? Ouch. That's twice now. You're going to get it? I squealed when he wrapped his arms around me and tried to steal kisses from me. Ulrich, you're going to wake up Kane. Stop it. But he didn't, and we ended up having a quickie right on the floor. It's so hard to stay quiet, but I didn't want our son to hear us. When we were done, Ulrich was caressing my neck. What is it? He was staring at it for a good while. I haven't marked you. There are so many things we haven't done yet. Like the Luna ceremony. Ulrich nodded. That can wait. It's only for formality anyway. I'm just worried that with all the other packs coming, some of them are unmated, and they might find you attractive. I rolled my eyes at him. Oh please, who wants a hybrid smelling like ketchup? I grinned at him and tapped his nose lightly with my forefinger. He leaned down to give me a kiss on the tip of my nose in exchange. You don't smell like ketchup anymore. Why do you think I can't get enough of you? Asked Ulrich. He was nuzzling my neck. I smell like strawberries again. I asked him. Ulrich smiled and said, Yes, you smell like fresh strawberries, and I can't get enough of you. How about another round? I'm not saying no to that. Victor. Bronze Ridge. 12 hours before the eclipse, and we are still at home. Up to now, I have been busy trying to figure out how Valentine's army was able to breach the gates. I know they cannot come in without an invitation, but if they have a witch, no one has seen her for the longest time. I got up and stared outside the window. It's noon, but there's barely sunlight, and it made the wind a little crisp. Somehow, my gut is telling me that my sister has something to do with the attack. But I quickly dismissed that thought. Vivian may not like Grace, but she won't put our pack at risk. Would she? I was deep in my thoughts when I heard a knock on the door. Alpha, the pack is ready. I nodded. Come in and close the door for a second, Hans. I said to him. Erica is coming over later to open the portal. There's at least 100 per pack that came to support High Crown, and even though their place is huge, it's going to be crowded. So I made a decision to just arrive before 6 in the evening. We should have enough time to prepare for the enemy's arrival. Did you hear anything about the investigation? He cleared his throat. I got the report a few minutes ago. I just looked at it quickly. What was in the report? I haven't read the whole thing, but I saw bits of information. Someone said that they saw Valentine at Club Alcazar before the attack. Okay, it's a neutral ground, so there's nothing wrong about him going there. I said to Hans. I have only been there once, as I am not fond of places like that. Hans looked uneasy. Vivian was there and was seen talking to him, and just to make sure that it's true, I asked for a copy of the CCTV footage. We can only watch it once, so I thought we could deal with this after the battle at High Crown. To say I am disappointed with Vivian is an understatement. After our last argument about Grace, she left Bronze Ridge and didn't return for a few days. I am used to it because she always goes on our trips. However, this one is different. Who else knows? I asked him. Just you and me, plus the investigator and the security at the club. Good. I don't want the pack to know about this. We are not sure yet if Vivian is really involved in the breach, or it was just a coincidence that Valentine saw her there. It's hard, because I have to put the pack's well-being first, but Vivian is my sister no matter how many times she makes poor choices. I won't say anything to anyone but Alpha. If Vivian is guilty, what do we do next? She's your only sister, and your parents entrusted her to you. I don't know, but laws are created for a reason. Sharing the same blood doesn't mean Vivian will be exonerated from her wrongdoings. I can't keep covering for her, Hans. There's only so much I can do, and it's not helping her become a better person either. I am so frustrated with my sister, and thinking about the possibility of her teaming up with Valentine to get back at Grace is killing me. Hans rubbed his nape and said, "If you want to watch the clip now, we still have time. At least, it will put our minds at ease until we talk to her." I don't know, Alpha. It's just a suggestion. I agreed with him, and Hans logged into my laptop. He signed into his email, and when we started watching the clip, I saw my sister drinking when Valentine approached her. Is there a voice for this or something? I'll try and see if there's a way to hear their conversation. Hans looked into it, and when he couldn't find it, he called the security at the club and asked for help. He sent us access to footage with a sound this time. He pressed play, and it was Vivian who spoke first. It seemed like they already talked earlier, but this is the only one caught on camera. Don't act like you care, you don't even know me. Oh, but I do. In fact, we've seen each other before in Italy, if my memory serves me right. I don't remember you, and frankly, I don't really care. You should. If my hunch is right, I might be able to help you with your problem. I don't need your help, go away. I can see how heartbroken you are. So what? It's none of your business. It's not like you can do anything about it. You're heartless. You wouldn't know how I feel. Oh, I won't be heartless for long. I found someone to keep me company for all eternity. Good for you. What can I do to ease your suffering? If you want to ease my suffering, take that bitch out of my pack. She doesn't belong there. Bitch. Is that her name? No, her name is Grace. Grace. That's a lovely name. She took everything from me. I hate her. First, my brother. Then my pack. And now, Ulrich. I saw him first. What did you want to do to Grace? Do you want her to die? No. Of course not. I am not like that. I just want her out of my life. She's taking everything from me. If you want her, go get her. You know I can't go in without an invitation. That is not a problem. If you promise not to hurt anyone from my pack, then I will invite you in. When do you plan to get her? Oh wait, she's pregnant, so you have to be careful. Plus, she's a witch too. I saw her close the fridge without touching it. I am sure I can handle her. However, if your pack attacks us, you know, we need to defend ourselves. Just don't hurt them. Come up with a plan, or something, so there won't be bloodshed. The video stopped, and it immediately became inaccessible. Vivian. She was the one who invited them in. I'm sorry, Alpha. What do we do now? Asked Hans. If the others find out about this information, they might hurt her. Some of our pack members lost their lives that night. I know he won't say anything, but secrets cannot be kept hidden forever. I don't know what to do yet. Vivian clearly had too much to drink, and I know I sound defensive right now, but if she was under the influence of alcohol, we might find a way to lessen her punishment. I have to consult the elders about this. Has she said something to you about Grace? Hans shook his head. Vivian barely leaves her room. Most of the time, she doesn't come down and join us for meals. I reminded her about what happened in New York, and she just found out that Grace is the daughter of the woman she hit. I didn't like bringing it up, as she had nightmares for so long, but she was getting out of hand. Vivian is acting like a child who spilled her milk and blames someone else for it. Oh, that's why Vivian's been quiet. I hope she's doing some reflection before it's too late. Later that day, I was getting ready to leave for High Crown when I opened the door and saw Vivian just about to knock on my door. She looked like hell. Dark circles under her eyes and weight loss are visible too. Vivian, what is it? Are you okay? I can't help it. She may be a brat, but I love my sister very much, and she's the only family I have left. It doesn't mean I would cater to all her wants. I just wish things would turn out differently for her soon. I need to talk to you before we leave. She looked fatigued, and I don't think she's fit enough to fight. Wait. You're not going to come with us. You have to stay here and protect the rest of the pack, I said to her. She went inside my room and locked the door. I'm sorry, Vic. I made a mistake and I can't keep it to myself anymore. I went to Woodbridge and had too much to drink after we argued. It was reckless. It's my fault. What do I do? Said Vivian. She started sobbing uncontrollably. I gave my sister a hug and patted her back. I am sad about what happened, Vivian. But hearing you earlier admit your mistake is a big step. You came to tell me the truth. Vic, are you going to banish me? Where will I go? If the other packs learn about what I did, they won't take me and I will be on my own. I don't want to be a rogue, Vic. I don't want to be one. My sister looked very scared, and I didn't know how to help her right now, except to hide what she did. Again. Does Grace know what I did to her mother? Asked Vivian. No, she doesn't. I didn't tell her anything about it. One day, she will, but that time is not right now. We have the battle to prepare for, and Erica is coming to make a portal. Stay here and take care of the pack, okay? I want to go. I can start making it up to Grace if I join you, Vivian insisted. No, listen to me. You're tired, and you're not fit to join us right now. You are safe here, so you're not going with us. Watch over the pack while I am away. Are we clear? I asked, and she nodded. But I didn't expect that she would disguise herself to go to High Crown with us. When the moon goddess showered stubbornness, Vivian was the only one awake and received it all. Damn, Erica. I was looking for Grace when I saw Taryn in the hallway. I am going to Bronze Ridge to create a portal for them to get here on time before the battle. I've seen what it's like outside, and the packs from different provinces and territories are here. There are at least 500 of them altogether. As for Shadow Moon, Em is coming a little later, but the other witches are here now. Tar, have you seen Grace? I was going to tell her that I'm going to Bronze Ridge to bring the pack here, I said to her. She's in the bedroom with Ulrich and the baby. I will let her know when I see her. Taryn looked bothered. What's the matter? Is Grace okay? Kane. They are both okay. I just noticed that the couple are not in their usual cheery self. You know. Maybe Ulrich is just jealous because Victor is coming. I laughed a little, and Taryn smiled too. It's been a joke between us girls, but of course, not in front of Ulrich. I'll see you in a bit. I forgot my cloak, and it looked chilly today, so I went back to my bedroom to grab it. That's when I saw my picture with Grace, Taryn, and Riella, along with Em, who visited us one time. I picked that up and remembered my conversation with Grace. Flashback. Grace had just finished talking to Naya when she came to see me in my bedroom. She doesn't look too happy. Do you have a minute? I need to tell you something, and no one can find out about it, said Grace. She sat down on my bed. Grace looked so serious, so I put my book away and gave her my full attention. What's wrong? I was told what my weakness is, and I need to keep it safe. I know there are some witches that can read minds. Naya said she can't read yours, so if I tell you what it is, it will be safe. Then, you'll have Mom cast a spell for you to erase it. I'd say it's a smart move. When are we doing it? As soon as possible. We looked for Mom and Em, and when we found them, all four of us went to Sacred Well to do the rituals. Mom did too, for Grace to forget her weakness and for me to swear on secrecy. The orchid Rothschild's slipper is currently blooming in the high mountains of Borneo. If there's any witch that has it from her travels, Grace will need the total dose of 6 flowers to kill her, by any means, and that includes inhaling it, aside from ingesting it. I took the responsibility of creating an antidote. I can't let my best friend die without a fight. I used the Sacred Well to create a portal that will take me to where the orchid is. I can't go back again, as it was too risky, so I took 4 stems with 6 blooms each. There were so many of them that I couldn't pick them all. It's odd that when I picked a stem, a new one grew again instantly. It's madness. I've never seen anything like it. And it won't stop growing until the season for it is over. When I came back to the Sacred Well, I started mixing 6 blooms with other ingredients, but there was no success on the first one as it fought with Grace's blood, and by the time it was over my cousin's blood disappeared like it never existed. The second time, it blew up along with another stem beside it. Fuck. Now, I have 1 stem left, and if I screw this up, I'm stuck. I sat in the corner and thought about it for a few minutes. What if I put a drop of my blood and Em? Would it work? I stabbed my finger and I put a drop with Grace's. Then I took Em's from the little container in Mom's room. We are cousins, and together we are stronger. This time, it worked, but not entirely. This will do for now. But one more ingredient is missing, and I have a feeling the blood of Alondra's granddaughter is the one missing. After all, there are 4 strains in our generation. Naya told me about the new vision she had, and I didn't tell anyone about it. It is about the Quatuor Malefices. It means 4 witches. When they finally come together in the greatest battle of their time, Valentine of Sanguine Ligurio, along with all his disciples that came to join his fight, will die. End of flashback. I only had enough to create 2 potions. I left one at Shadow Moon, where only Em and I have access. I didn't put a label on it, but it is the only potion that has a different color in the bunch, silver and purple. I kept the other one with me and took it wherever I went. Just like now, I am on my way to Bronze Ridge, and of all rooms I had to land on, I ended up at Hans' bedroom. As if it wasn't embarrassing enough, Hans just got out of the shower naked. The moon goddess is probably having the time of her life right now, as I feel flushed from head to toe. Every fiber in my body is screaming to feel those abs and touch every inch of ugh. This is fucking insane. Could you get dressed or something? Even a towel would soothe. He snorted. It's my room, I can do whatever I want here, and that includes walking naked. Does it turn you on? Of course not. I quickly turned around, so I didn't see him, but I heard the brute walking. And Hans only stopped when he was about an inch away from me. How could I tell? I can feel his breath fanning my fucking neck. He whispered to me, "If we survive this battle, I have a feeling you're going to be back in this room, and soon you will be sleeping in my bed, princess." What he said made my heart beat so fast that if I don't leave his room right now, I'll probably fall dizzy in his bed. With him on top of me. I've never walked so fast towards the door in my life until now. Artemis. Matika's Peak. I was hunting all day, but I made sure I was home before the battle at High Crown began. Dionysus just gave me a bottle of mead, and it should keep me company as I watch the fight unfold. Hades made a couple of bets with me in exchange for my bow and arrow. It was a gift from my father and created by the Cyclopes, especially for me. If I win, he will not interfere with the lives of the strains anymore. I didn't understand why until Apollo told me in secret that Hades was infatuated with Amari back then. He was pissed when the Queen of Shadowmoon chose a powerless human over him. It's not clear whether Hades made a bet against Eros that Amari would pick him or not, but there is a possibility. Otherwise, why would he be bothered in this battle? So when he saw an opportunity to redeem himself, he gave Alondra the power of absorption, hoping she would end up killing Amor's last line. I saw Valentine's army coming and almost at the first gate in High Crown. If they breach the second gate, they are in. Alondra was dressed in all black, like the rest of Valentine and his disciples, and a few dark witches. Meanwhile, the wolves haven't shifted at the courtyard yet, and they are all in formation. Witches of Shadowmoon are scattered, including Erica and Grace standing side by side. Everyone is here except for Amelia. As for Emlyn, she is in the tower with the baby and Taryn. She cast a spell to protect the main house. Emlyn also put a shield to serve as an advantage for Grace's allies. What happens after that will be beyond her control. I feel nervous as I don't want to lose my bow and arrow, but I am confident that Grace will make a sound decision. Hopefully, her cousin too when the time comes. 80 Victor's pack. I can't believe you came with us. He hissed at his sister. Didn't I tell you not to come tonight? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to disobey you again, but another body in this battle won't hurt. Valentine will surely bring an army with him. I can help. Victor shook his head. When will you ever listen to me, Vivian? Vivian smiled sadly. This will be the last time that I will not listen to you. I came here to help. I promise I won't cause any more trouble. Just let me do this for the pack. And Grace. Victor was unsure if he should send his sister home or let her be part of the fight. He is still angry about what she did to their pack. Just be careful, okay? Said Victor to his sister. Vivian nodded. Don't leave my side, I will protect you. I know you always have. But this time, I will return the favor. Victor didn't know how to feel about that and had ugly thoughts, but dismissed them when Vivian hugged him tightly. I love you, big brother. Always have. Thank you for taking care of me. The Alpha of Bronze Ridge loves his sister dearly, and there's no question about that. As unbelievable as it sounds, all Vivian has to hear to stop the hate is to be told that she killed Grace's mother. And it doesn't matter if it was an accident that night. Everything has a repercussion. Sometimes, a life for a life. The horn sounded, and a guard from the pack roared. Breach. Valentine's army is inside the courtyard. There were about 10,000 vampires and a few dark witches, including Alondra. Valentine is wearing all white, like he was prepared to go to his wedding. A funeral. Ulrich, who was standing beside Grace, held her hand and brought it to his lips. I love you. Stay alive for Kane and me, okay? Grace swallowed and tried to hide her sadness. She nodded and said, For you and Kane. Alistair and Aurora are not standing side by side for the first time in a battle and still not on speaking terms. They heard the conversation between Ulrich and Grace and felt sad, remembering their own fated mates, who didn't have the chance to be with them longer than they should have. I couldn't do anything about that. That was already written in the stars. Oh, look at you all gathered here today. I thought all the packs were going to help, but I guess some are still as selfish as before. How many of you are here? A couple of thousand. 3, said Valentine, who looked amused. We don't have to fight today, just hand my bride over, and we will live in peace. Your bride? Asked Ulrich. Grace Strain. You mean Grace Preston? She's already my wife, you idiot. What makes you think I'll hand her over to you? What Ulrich said made the pack members gasp. He was bound to come out sooner or later. I just didn't think it was wise of him to announce it at this time. It's the same as telling the world Aurora has lied about the paternity and Alistair cheated. But there is a trial for a reason, and Grace will change the game for everyone across Canada. Ah, so you found out who your real father is. I was just about to tell you about that. Valentine smiled mockingly. Take everyone with you and leave High Crown, before we turn all of you into ashes, said Ulrich using his commanding tone. You don't want to hand her over, and I am not leaving without her. Don't say I didn't warn you. Valentine's face turned serious. Then he raised both his hands, signaling his army to attack everyone who would stand their way of taking Grace. The vampires started their attack, and all the wolves shifted as the witches of Shadowmoon prepared to protect them. For the first time in many years, the witches and wolves fought side by side against a common enemy. Grace remained in her human form and started blasting a few vampires at once. At the same time, Erica used her power to levitate and worked her way to manipulate the air. One of the vampires attacked Havoc, so he grabbed onto his neck and aggressively ripped his head off his body. The vampires were attacking from all directions, and within seconds it was a bloodbath. I disguised myself as a human not too long ago and went to New York. I watched a movie, and what's happening now is similar to what I watched, filled with horror, blood spurting, and madness. Every time a vampire attacks a wolf, the vampires are finished immediately. But there are too many of them, and they keep coming. 10,000 vampires versus approximately 3,000 wolves. That's a big difference, and I begin to fear for Grace. I was so focused on watching the battle that I didn't notice Hades coming to see me. Enjoying the fight? Asked Hades. He was eyeing my bow and arrow on top of the table. When did I ever enjoy a fight? It's a battle that is out of my hands. I don't understand why some species are so driven to obtain more power. They were given gifts, and even immortality. Each one is unique, and yet they are hungry for more. I said to him, it is frustrating, and this species wanting more power has been going on for thousands and thousands of years. It is what it is. Who doesn't want more power? One could have it all, and it still won't be enough. Touche, I said to Hades, but he just laughed. Don't mind me, I just came because I am bored. Sit down then and have a drink with me. He sat down and took a glass of wine. It's good wine, mead. I nodded. It is. Diane sent it to me in exchange for a deer. There was silence between us after that until he asked me a question. Do you think Alondra will choose to be good this time? What's in it for her? I asked Hades. Meeting her granddaughter for the first time. But she doesn't know that. Artemis. Matika's peak. I didn't know how to answer his question. Only because Alondra has disappointed me every damn time. Some say one changes for the better as they get older, but then some never do. I am not sure. I've waited for Alondra to redeem herself for so many years, but I never saw her make a single step. I don't think she will ever change, especially now that she has the chance to take Grace's powers. Didn't you curse her the same way you did Amari? Asked Hades. I pursed my lips and nodded. Yes, A simple rule, and yet they can't even follow on top of it. They fell for a human. So yes, no power for their children as punishment. However, I got into some thinking, and I didn't want to be too harsh. So whatever power they didn't have will be passed on to their child. I pointed at Grace. Look at her blasting those coming to get her. Hades smiled. She is something. Isn't she supposed to die tonight? I nodded. Grace will. Her time is up. That's too bad. Where's Alondra's granddaughter? Isn't she supposed to make an entrance? Asked Hades. He took a sip of his wine and leaned back in the chair. Oh, she's coming. I want to see their faces when they realize who she really is. But I am worried as she is Alondra's direct descendant. However, her mother didn't turn evil, so I guess there's a chance for her. With love and support, she might not fulfill the prophecy. Slaughtering her own pack? Asked Hades with a wicked smile. Please say there's another battle. I'd like to see one again soon. I let out an exasperated sigh. You and bloodshed. I shook my head. Hades looked at the tower. Just look over there at the tower. She must be bored. Who? I asked him. Emlyn. Look at her. She and Taryn are just guarding the baby, while the baby's parents are fighting for their lives. Valentine looked infuriated when Roberto couldn't pass through many wolves to get to Grace and sent Vincent to help him. But they are no match for the hybrid as she orbed away from them. She blasted both, but they quickly avoided it. The second time Grace did, both vampires were hit on their shoulders. Roberto and Vincent shimmered and went back to Valentine's side. Weak, said Valentine. My lord, she is strong. I thought Alondra would help us. Why is she just watching everyone fight? Asked Vincent, who looked beat. She already did her job earlier. You'll see without Grace, even if the Pax and witches joined forces, they won't stand a chance against us. Can't you see how tired they are? Every time a wolf falls, 10 vampires follow. But to Valentine, it doesn't matter if half of his army doesn't live. As long as he gets to have Grace to fulfill the prophecy, he is all good. Valentine hasn't changed at all after all these years. He is still hungry for power. He was so over the moon that he forgot the other thing that Dimitri said before he passed. The truth is, he is driven by the prophecy so much that he doesn't care if it is true or not. It's not written in stone and can change course depending on how one would react. The prophecy will only happen if the hybrid chooses Valentine wholeheartedly, which in this case, Valentine is out of luck. More and more vampires came to attack the wolves, while dark witches started to fight the ones from Shadow Moon. No one wants to give way and stop hurting each other. But Valentine is right. Everyone is getting tired. Even Grace. It won't be long until she loses her powers completely. She won't die yet, but she won't be any use to anyone after that for a while. With every blasting, waving her hand, or squinting her eyes, her magic decreases each time. It shouldn't be like this, but she made the wrong choice earlier. Too trusting on the day she's supposed to take her last breath. Flashback. Earlier today, Grace came down later in the afternoon to get something to drink in the kitchen when she bumped into Erica. You're still here? I thought Taryn said you already left, said Grace, who sat down on one of the bar stools. I left something in my room and had to come back for it. Grace furrowed her brows. So then, what are you doing here in the kitchen? Erica smiled lightly and said, I was thirsty, and I thought I should get a drink before I leave. Would you like me to get you some while I'm still here? You look tired. What were you doing earlier? Grace blushed, but didn't say anything about her sexy time with Ulrich on the floor. If there's grape juice, I would like some. I don't want water, thanks, Erica. My pleasure. Grace received a call from her phone, and that's why she didn't see what Erica was doing. She took a vial from her pocket and dropped a few of the contents to the grape juice she had just poured on the glass. By the time Grace finished her call, her drink was already spiked. Hey, raise your drink, it smells so good I thought I'd have one too. Cheers, said Erica after raising her glass. Grace raised her glass too. Cheers. When the glass clinked, both women started downing their drinks. Erica put her glass down and said, I have to go, I don't want to be late. Okay, just hurry up. Valentine and his friends are coming soon. I have to check on Kane anyway, so I will see you later. Take care, and thanks for getting my drink. As Grace took the stairs back to their bedroom, Erica created a portal to the pantry. Once she was in, she took off her glamour, and by the time the woman arrived at her sacred place, she was back to her old self. That better work. I put on 3 times the amount of every rare plant and flower I have collected over the years. She won't die, but it should make her weak for a few hours. I doubt she has an antidote, said Alondra in her mind. End of flashback. Grace is not saying anything, but she is feeling it. The poison is spreading in her body and weakening her powers. Soon, she won't be able to fight anymore unless she shifts to her wolf form. Willow, are you there? Gee, Grace, are you okay? Willow sounded like she just woke up from a deep slumber. Willow, I don't feel so good. Something is wrong. It's the drink. What drink? I didn't have any alcohol. No, not alcohol. The grape juice. Remember, I am not allergic to it. Why would I feel like this over a glass of grape juice? I had it before, and I was fine. It was poisoned. I was trying to tell you, but the witch was too strong. She froze me for hours. Erica. Erica won't do that to us. She's not a traitor. No, that's not Erica. It was Alondra, your grandaunt. She used the magic of glamour and disguised herself as Erica. Am I going to die now? No, but your powers are getting weak. I can feel it. Listen, okay, if you don't have any more magic left, you have to let me take over while you recuperate. I don't know how long the poison will last, but it will buy us some time. Okay. Don't forget. You have to live for Ulrich and Kane. Artemis. Matiga's Peak. The frosty half-blood moon eclipse is going to happen soon, and almost everything will turn red in North America. The Earth is going to be between the moon and the sun again. It is supposed to be a beautiful night that everyone would have enjoyed if they weren't busy killing each other. I look at everyone who has been growing tired, but won't stop fighting. All these for more power. All these to rule the world. Then few just want to live in peace, but can't get a break. And some that just want to get over it and move on. It's saddening to see wolves dropped on the ground without light in their eyes. Vampires turning into ashes when bitten. Dark versus good witches and the powers that they abused. 80 The Tower. Taryn, how is Kane? Asked Emlyn. He's fine, Queen Emlyn, just a little restless. I think he is feeling the battle outside, and his parents are currently fighting for their lives. I will lull him to sleep. Grace left the shirt she was wearing earlier for Kane. The scent will help him sleep. Emlyn nodded and let Taryn do her job. She doesn't know if she was just tired, but she noticed a symbol that appeared quickly on Taryn's wrist. It was weak and only glowed for not even a second. But she can't be mistaken, she just can't. It was an Ancage. The symbol for the Strain Witches. Taryn is one of them. Meanwhile, Amelia had just arrived at the battlefield, and she was very late. A lot of wolves are down. A few witches from Shadowmoon are dead with their eyes open as they lie on the ground, Amelia was only supposed to be behind for a few minutes. But as she was getting ready to leave, the shield to the realm had been breached, and Amelia had to work hard to put it back on. Nympha's sister, Celeste, committed treason and invited the vampires. She played cool when the strains banished Nympha from the coven and said that rules are rules. But it was just all a show. The sisters planned to get their revenge. Knowing most powerful witches were going to high crown before the eclipse, they timed their attack. What they didn't realize was that Amelia would be home to save everyone in the realm. Amelia used petrification and turned the vampires into a stone. She just recently received this power and is still in the testing phase. And although her calculations are a bit off, she managed to turn them while putting up the shield back and reverse the invitation made. The vampires started attacking her, and she fought back. While everyone was busy looking after each other, Amelia felt hot, like someone was staring at her. And when she glanced to her left, there was a big wolf with a brown tail and Alpha. The wolf with the brown tail screamed, "Mate," and didn't notice the vampire about to attack him. But Amelia did and turned the vampire into a stone. Eyes on the enemies, Damas. What were you doing staring at me in the middle of the battlefield? Amelia said to Dash, who went back to fighting vampires. But as she was about to go to him, the Dark Witch caught sight of her. The Dark Witch used her Force Blast, and because Amelia was caught off guard, she couldn't avoid it and prepared for her death. All she could do was close her eyes until Nova, a brown wolf with black ears, jumped in front of her to take the hit. Nova slightly knocked her over, but Amelia was able to conjure a bursting ball and throw it to the Dark Witch fast, while Nova was lying on her side, almost lifeless. The metallic sphere combusted upon hitting the Dark Witch and killed her. Nova did a mind link to Dash with all the strength she has left. "I love you, be happy," said Nova, whose breathing is getting slower. Amelia didn't leave Nova and fight off everyone who was coming to kill them. As her one hand grabbed Nova's paw, Amelia was able to read her hopes. Nova's hopes were simple. Love my brother as he deserves that and more. Forgiveness from Grace. And the last one is peace. Amelia was shocked to learn that her savior was the female Beta from Bronze Ridge when she shifted to her human form. Erica showed her Vivian's picture before, and it was not like her to judge before meeting them. Erica is angry with Vivian because of her attitude towards her and Grace, but Amelia saves her judgment for when they meet. And that time is now. Vivian. Oh goddess. Hang on, I'll orb you inside, and we'll get someone to help. As Amelia was about to orb them, Vivian held her hand and stopped her. And now, leave me here, it's an honor. More blood came out from Vivian's mouth. She's dying. SSH. Don't talk, save your energy, said Amelia. She couldn't understand how she was feeling. As a witch, who doesn't show many emotions, Amelia felt like a part of her heart was dying for her savior. It's an honor dying, Vivian gasped for breath and smiled a little, then said, for my sister-in-law. Just then, the wolf with the brown tail came and nuzzled the woman's face. Vivian touched the wolf's face with her weak hand, then closed her eyes. She never opened them again. The wolf howled loudly, full of anguish for losing a loved one and anger, as he charged towards the vampires, who came to attack them and ripped their heads from the neck. Before Amelia left, she closed her eyes and offered a prayer for Vivian's soul, then kissed her forehead. May you find peace wherever you are. Until we see each other again. Little sister. Hades furrowed his brows and looked amused at what just happened, while I felt lighter and smiled at him. There is still hope. Well, that was unexpected. Did you know about that? Asked Hades. I shook my head. I knew Vivian was distraught upon learning that Grace is the daughter of the woman she killed years ago in New York when she connived with Valentine and gave him the invitation to attack her own pack. I thought all hope is lost with her. I answered him. And what made her do what she did earlier? She doesn't even know the witch. Why would a spoiled rotten female beta save a stranger's ass? Love. Hades laughed uncontrollably. Love. Look at them killing each other just to get what they want. That's not love. It will take a while for some to reflect on their actions. Maybe never for some. But the truth is, Vivian's love for her brother turned her life around. For once in her life, she thought of someone. And putting that person first above herself is admirable for someone who committed treason. I felt her pain, since she learned what happened because of her recklessness and stupidity. She had too much anger in her. Vivian knew there was no way out for her, and she didn't want to put her brother in a position that would make him choose between her and the pack. So she chose to die. No, she chose to make her brother happy even though she's no longer around Vivian. Put her brother's happiness first, and that's love. Hades. Artemis. Medika's peak. The bloodbath has not stopped, and half of the wolves are gone while the vampires remain at more than 3/4. The odds are still slim for Grace, as Valentine's army seems to be stronger and faster than before. Over the years, vampires have evolved. They think and form a strategy before attacking their prey. As for the werewolves, the venom in their fang is fatal to vampires once they've been bitten. However, some bites cause the vampires to hallucinate. Like that one vampire in the corner, he went into survival mode and hoped that he would survive. From what I can see, his death is going to be slow and painful. Alondra cloaked herself and watched as everyone killed each other. The impulsive Alondra became patient. Oh, I want to know how this would unfold later. I know she is waiting for Grace to fall so she can absorb her power. At the same time, Alondra is hoping to see her grandchild. The problem is, she doesn't know who it is. With all the power that Alondra has, I didn't give her the ability to sense her own. That's why she couldn't find Ryan now. Tearing. Alondra looked up at the tower, and right now, her eyes were fixated on her niece, Emlyn. Hearing her thoughts makes me want to vomit. I shook my head. Alondra has not changed. I can feel her anger and her desire to go back to Shadow Moon. She wants to take the throne away from Emlyn, but this time it's not for herself, but for a grandchild. The light in Grace's hands is slowly dimming, and her blasting is not as intense. Even her telekinesis wasn't enough to send an enemy 10 feet away. The poison is weakening her powers, and Alondra will soon succeed with her plans. Over the years, she has collected wildflowers and plants. But the Rothschild slipper orchid was given to her by someone. Hades. Hades doesn't always play fair, and this is one of those times. He gave her a small container with red-brown particles similar to dust, which equaled 3 blooms of the gold of Kinnabaloo orchid earlier today. A note was left to create a potion to render someone powerless. Alondra put it together with her other ingredients, as she doesn't know the enemy's weakness. After that, she went to High Crown and used glamour. Willow, are you there? I'm here. How are you feeling? It's getting harder to breathe, and my powers are weakening. Help me. Grace shifted, and Willow took over. A black wolf as dark as night, with a little bit of silver on her right ear. Willow growled and pounced at every vampire who tried to take her and sent them flying. She had little combat training, but Grace's power to absorb knowledge by reading gave Willow a bit of an advantage. She remembers them even in wolf form. More vampires are coming, and Willow ripped them to shreds. They weren't here to kill her. They are here to take her away, and she's going to use that against them. Even though Grace's poison is not affecting Willow, as it doesn't contain aconite, Willow is getting exhausted from non-stop brawls. As she tried to take on as many vampires as possible, she searched for her mate and found him not too far from her. Willow saw Havoc fighting off several vampires at once and having a hard time as they were all over him. She was about to go to Havoc and help when she saw a vampire coming at full speed. It was Vincent, and he didn't come for Willow. He aimed for Dusk, who just turned her back to help a witch that had just fallen to the ground. On top of it, there's an old, dark witch following his every move to protect him, and when the witch raised her hand, Willow used every strength she had to get to Dusk on time and leap into the air to save her. Dusk was sent flying to the other side after colliding with Willow and was taken aback. Grace saved her. Why? The old, dark witch did her power of blinking and appeared right in front of Willow, held her head, and drained her life force. From afar, Havoc saw Willow's eyes dimmed, and his loud growl shook the courtyard as he ran fast to his mate. Willow shifted to her human form, but Grace was no longer breathing and lying lifeless with her eyes open. As Havoc howled in pain as their mate bond broke, Vigo let out a piercing howl at the loss of a daughter he never knew. Valentine saw what Alondra did. He screamed and said, "No." Valentine ran to Grace, and all he was thinking about was the failed prophecy and how he could bring Grace back to life with an antidote. Havoc pounced on every vampire who came to attack him, and now he is standing toe-to-toe with Valentine and ready to kill him, even if it means losing his life in the process. Dusk and Vigo set aside their marital problems and fought side by side for the first time since the battle started. They joined Havoc in his quest to avenge Willow's death. Taryn saw what happened from the window and shouted, "Grace!" Before Emlyn could stop her, Taryn had left the tower and ran downstairs to get to the courtyard. She didn't care if she didn't have a wolf or magical powers in her. All she cared about was her dear friend, who was lying there naked, eyes open and no signs of life in the middle of the courtyard. The battle intensified further now that Grace was dead. Blood spurting everywhere. Limbs are being torn and thrown from all directions. Taryn was in tears, and she could barely see anything in the dark. She took her jacket off and covered Grace. As she was about to pull her to the side, a white wolf jumped in front of her. He saved her from a vampire who was about to attack her. "Mate." He protected Taryn as she pulled Grace away. "Canyon, the white wolf is an alpha of Wintercrest." Just then, an old woman shouted a name. "Rhea." Taryn didn't know why the old woman was calling her Rhea. Her name is not Rhea. She doesn't even know anyone with that name. As the old woman takes a step forward, she takes one step back. She couldn't get to Taryn. Erica controlled the air and gave Alondra all she had with tears in her eyes. She took the vial from her pocket and gave it to Taryn. "Pour it on her mouth," Erica said to Taryn. "Erica shiz." "No," Erica shouted as tears continued to fall down. But as Taryn was about to pour it, someone knocked her hand down. It was Alondra, who used her power to stop her from giving Grace the antidote. The liquid spilled on the ground. Erica screamed, "No." I watched Grace take her final breath, and how Ulrich and Alistair mourned her death, along with the ones who loved her dearly. This changes the game for everyone. I didn't expect her to do what she did earlier. Saving someone who messed up her mother's life and made everything difficult for them is huge. Growing up not knowing who her father is and finding out she might be half-siblings with her husband was not only disheartening but heart-wrenching. But Ulrich and Grace believed in their love and entrusted everything to me. They believed in me amidst all the trials I've given them over and over. And it's time I return the favor. The prophecy for Quatuor Malefices is about to come true tonight, if one of them chooses wisely. "Ah, she's gone," said Hades. "That's 2 out of 3, Artemis. I was going to say well done, but we still have one left, and that determines the fate of the strains. We still have time." "All right. I'll just sit here and watch you fail," said Hades while laughing. "That's a really nice bow and arrow." I narrowed my eyes at him, but didn't give much importance to what he said. Grace needs to be rewarded for her selfless act. Artemis. High Crown. I stopped the time as the lunar eclipse was about to happen. Some wolves above me were frozen as they jumped in the air, and in front of them were vampires. I glanced around and found witches emitting different powers with different colors. And then there's Alondra trying to get to Taryn, who grew up looking somewhat similar to Rhea. By now, she knows her granddaughter, but Taryn doesn't. Her powers will only get activated if Alondra does the impossible, and that's to sacrifice her life for Taryn. It's not just the magical powers of being a strain that she will receive. Taryn will also awaken her wolf from a deep slumber. Kiki. It's nice to have some peace and quiet for a bit. I walked towards Grace and squatted beside her. I can't get over the fact how she looks so much like her grandmother, but I am more interested in what she would like to say to me. It's been a while since I last conversed with anyone from the ground. I placed my hand above her heart, and her soul rose up, leaving her body. I stood up and watched her closely. "Grace. What happened?" Remembering what Naya told me, I didn't look Artemis in the eye. She didn't have her bow and arrow with her, and was dressed in her usual knee-length tunic. I heard her laugh a little. "It's okay to look at me, Grace. I won't punish you for it," she said. I looked up to her slowly and kneeled on the ground on one knee. "Your Grace," I said to her. "It's funny, because I saw my body beside me, and I'm kind of transparent right now." "Great. I'm a ghost. I didn't really wish to be like Casper." Artemis motioned her hand up and smiled. "Rise, Grace. Just call me Artemis." "Do you want to take a quick walk with me?" asked Artemis. I nodded to her and stood up. As we took a step, I glanced around and noticed how everything was frozen. I saw Havoc pushing Valentine. Vigo was on the ground and ready to pounce on a vampire, and behind him was Dusk. At least they were able to set aside their anger and work together to survive this fight. "Looks familiar?" asked Artemis. I looked at her without a clue. "Temporal stasis. Isn't that one of my gifts to you?" she reminded me. "Why, yes, it is. Thank you for the gifts. I didn't know what I did to deserve them," I said to her. "I see you every day from the day you were born." Dawn struggled, but she managed to raise you by herself. "You're welcome to ask me anything, Grace." She pursed her lips, then said, "Why did you let my mom and dad go on separate ways, if you made them fated mates from the beginning?" I badly wanted to know, as it would have worked differently for my mother if Dad had been around. "It doesn't matter if we struggle, but at least the 3 of us will be together. Aside from the fact that it was written in the stars," asked Artemis. I nodded at her and waited for her answer. "They've made poor choices. They didn't believe in their love. They didn't hold on to each other, like their lives depended on it. What happened to Alistair and Dawn was their own doing. Adding Aurora to the equation made it more complicated, and it was duty versus love. It was out of my hands, Grace. I could have changed it, but I didn't. Do you know why?" "Why?" "Because you would go through this life without Ulrich and Kane. And Kendra." "Kendra?" Who the hell is Kendra? Then I forgot she could read my mind too. Sorry. I looked at her apologetically. Artemis smiled. You are truly one of a kind, do you know that? And I didn't make a mistake of choosing you to lead the Quatuor Malefices. Oh my lord. First, Kendra. And now, this Quatuor Malefices, it means 4 witches. What the hell is going on? Kendra is your daughter, and well, about the other one, there are 4 strains in your generation. I searched for Taryn and saw a faint symbol of ANKH on her wrist. She's not just the daughter of the Alpha of Moon Valley, she's a strain. She's Andrea's daughter, and a direct descendant of Alondra, the one who just killed me.